hope you enjoy the intro as much as I enjoy making it. So let's build this back brace together.
Here's the parts that we're going to need for this build. The ZKPP2. ZKPP2K has a case, the ZKPP2 doesn't. Same specs though. A 3D printed box, on-off button, 2 battery holder. They're for the 18650 batteries. Small piece of wire. This particular one, this back brace, the reason why I like it is because it has a pouch right here, which turned out that the protective case of the 5-inch T.V.E.M.F, which I had here, somebody could easily cut a piece of mat, about, yoga mat, and I just make it fit in there. This is like the perfect fit for this to go in there, just like that. Just works awesome. And then the mysterious components that some of you figured out.
Here we go. Here's the Flexar coil. They're amazing little creatures. That's the website where I get them from. They're not cheap. We're working on trying to make our own. Let's list quickly at the specs on these guys. When I say we, I say like the Patreons and I, we're working on all kinds of stuff. So the reason why I use the 18650 batteries because they're 3.2 volts each, and then there's lost. We put them in series at 6.4, and there's lost in the electronics, so we're right at maximum voltage these guys can do. And the magnetic field you get from these little coils is 120 Gauss, basically 12 millitesla, which is amazing. The recommended maximum constant power, we're well within that. Everything is good. We're kosher. We're using micropulse, so they'll never heat up. So if you look here, the power in watt versus the heat, obviously we want to get as much oomph as we can out of them, and because we're micropulsing them, we are going to be fine. Like, I've played with those things for over a year now, and I put them through the test big time, and micropulsing them, I even overdrive them, and they're working fine. That's the watt powering. You'll have no heat out of them. Once again, micropulse.
Quick note for the listener: we adjust the pulse duration using duty cycle. Example: for a 1 Hz frequency with a 1% duty cycle, the electromagnetic field would be active for 1% of 1 second, which is 0.01 seconds, or 10 milliseconds. Remember that only the rising slew rate of the magnetic field has effect on the cells.
Here we have our, you see the way I put those DuPont connectors, and I put all the same colors on the same side, so when I wire them, they're going to be all facing the same way, the north and the south. And then I put heat shrink on it, and then I shrink it up with my heat gun. That allows the connection to be really solid and them DuPont connectors not to come apart. Alternatively, you could solder everything directly onto the coil. I just haven't tested that method yet. I found this to be extremely resilient to bending and folding, so I'm sticking with that for right now. I'll do some tests later on with our stuff. Check your connectivity with your meter as you build it, because I've had a project where I build everything, I came at the end and it wasn't working, and that's because one of my connector came apart on me. So test it, so that way you know by the time you're done it's gonna work, and you're not gonna have to troubleshoot and start taking stuff apart and taking shrink apart and taking, it's a bloody nightmare. Believe me on that. Test it first. Alright, let's mount our box. Let's build this control box. So I 3D printed that. I just kind of guessed on the size I would require. Then I got my battery holder, and we're gonna mount them on the side. Put the ZKPP2 inside of it. Then our on-off switch is gonna go somewhere in there. Just gonna have to play around with it until we figure out the exact place. This two-sided tape from Gorilla is amazing. I enjoy using it quite a bit. So I've had really good success with it. Stuff sticks on. Just clean your stuff with alcohol before you use it. Make sure there's no finger grease or any other kind of grease. And then just push on it really hard. And not easy to peel. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not friendly that way. But it's just a side effect of it. See, I'm just drying off some little bit of that alcohol that hasn't evaporated yet. So stick those things on and they're there forever. Let's do a little montage of assembling this little control unit. And while you watch me building this thing with sticky tape, the PP2 has 8 amp of maximum power, which is amazing. It'll work up to 30 volts, and then the duty cycle to control our micro pulse is also pretty amazing. And we usually go from 1 hertz to 1000 hertz, actually what we stick with, but this thing will do 150,000 hertz, so it's pretty amazing little gizmo. I get that asked a lot by many people, like they don't believe until they see the spec. It's an amazing thing. So that was the next day. I was at this for multiple days, by the way, just trying to figure out how the wiring goes. There's not a lot of room in there. If you want a detailed schematic, it's on the Patreon. The Patreon, by the way, is up and running. We're starting to have a good time. There's a few guys in there and girls that I've been talking with on different projects. So if you want to join, there's a new feature on Patreon that allows people to join for free. They don't have access to everything, obviously, but there's lots of stuff. The calculator is there for free, so for all the people that want to see it, just come and join the Patreon. Like I said, it's free, and the calculator is there for the grab. And the detail schematic for this is also there. It's been there since September 3rd, I think, or 4th. So anyway, I'm going to fast forward this build. A good question asked to me all the time about high intensity versus low intensity. What we're building on this channel is always low intensity, and I won't teach people how to build high intensity because it uses capacitors and high voltage, and it's a sure way that people's going to kill themselves. I'm not saying high intensity T.V.E.M.F kills people. Building them the wrong way and testing them could really go bad. Well, what we're doing here, you can't hurt yourself with that stuff, no matter what. It'll just blow some electronics. But let's get back to the high intensity stuff. They're really high maintenance. There's a gap, a spark gap on some of them to maintain, and a bunch of other stuff. Also, capacitor can blow up if they're not wired the right way. The DC one anyway, the AC doesn't matter. So long story short, well, sorry Dr. P, but you're wrong on many statements. You don't need high intensity T.V.E.M.F to do any healing or organs or bones. T.V.E.M.F, E.M.F goes through everything. It does not stop. It doesn't matter what the intensity is. It's just a matter of having the right intensity just to go through your body. You don't need to send a signal to the moon. You don't need to fix anything on the moon. You just need to fix in your body. And as long as you got one gauze, the cell act like that's all they need. They need like 0.6 of a gauze, I think was the minimum, and they were like starting to work on that. The Earth magnetic field is at 0.8 and it's doing fine. So you just need enough gauze on the mat to go through, and what comes out of your belly button is over 1 gauze, you're covered. Now these little coil, I use my calculator, and I did a simulation on the calculator, and I found out that putting 2 in series and then put that pair in parallel with one another and doing the same thing on the other side and then parallel them 2 bundles together was what I needed to do. This is what's really important, to have the color coding on the wiring, so that way you know the direction the coil is going to spin. So when you wire them together, you don't have to guess, and you don't have to use your gauge meters or anything after that. All your coils will be facing the same direction. So once again, I did 2 in series, coil A and B in series, coil C and D in series, and then grabbed those 2 series and paralleled them up. Did that on another bundle, and then put the 2 bundle in parallel with one another, and then it worked out really well. So as you can see right there, I got one bundle over there. I'm going to put some clear tape on it so we can get to see it. Then I get all the black facing up because I use my color coding on my wires, so I know they're all wired properly. I don't have to test them first. So when I tested them, we didn't get 120 gauze just because of the sheer numbers of stuff, but we got 70 gauze per coils. As an average, I would say I got around 62, 63 gauze. I'd say that would be the average, like 65, 63. And then I mounted the box. I had some two-sided tape Velcro, so I used that. Worked out really well. And then secure my lid in place. The belt is really comfortable, first of all, because it's a belt. It really supports you, so right off the get-go, that makes a big difference. Also, you see me struggling there, getting all the piece of plastic and stuff out of there. Highly suggest that you don't work on top of your belt when you drill holes in the plastic. It's really sticky to the Velcro. Really like it. The final product was really clean, really light. I'm gonna see the way I ran the wire right there. Give it a little loose like this so it can bend. The on-off button works beautifully. Just, you know, the batteries are incredible. They last forever. On micro pulse, I get like 48 hours out of them. It's really, you don't feel it at all. And chopping my wood for the rest, you can see the Velcro right there. Chopping the wood for the rest of the day was really good, just because of the belt and because of the T.V.E.M.F. So it's a really good build. Thanks for staying until the end. Soon we're going to be talking about ionizer. I keep ordering pieces and they keep getting stuck at the custom. I think they keep getting returned to sender. I have one here, and we'll talk about that. It's in the making. I got some pretty interesting stuff I want to try with that. Also, some red light stuff that I want to talk about. 10 is still on my list of things to talk about too. I don't know if we're going to build one of those or not. But the T.V.E.M.F is on the forefront. Obviously, we're going to be using these coil. I just got a batch of coil that I ordered. I even ordered some of them flex one. So maybe we can incorporate that in some of the clothing a little more, be easier maybe. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe make a nice pair of gloves with that too. The intensity is a little lower. It's about half of the hard coil, so we may have to stack a couple of them together. That's another thing I want to teach you guys, how to stack coils to get more power out of them. We could use a shunt too, but that might defeat the purpose of the flexible stuff. Anyway, thanks for all the support. Thanks for hanging out, and join Patreon, and you'll learn some stuff in there too. And leave me a comment if you have any question, and my email's in down below too. Just don't be shy. Reach out. And then if you need help building one or you need one, just let me know and we'll figure out something we can do. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.